I'd like to welcome you all to the MJC, or the Michael Joseph Center, newly refurbished. We have amongst us guests from outside, from our partner organizations within the industry and within the sector, who are here as guests of women in technology. And we also have amongst us Safaricom women, mainly, and a few gentlemen sprinkling within the crowd. Tonight, we have what we call the Power Hour, newly introduced series. This is the second edition of the Power Hour, and basically what it allows Safaricom to do is to reach out to its various stakeholders away from the business front, to engage with them and with you on your points of need, your points of experience, your points of expertise, basically to grow and to help and to enable. So this is not about the business. We're not here to sell Safaricom products, but we are here to discuss things or issues that are of importance to us in our careers. Tonight, we are being hosted by the Women in Technology. The Women in Technology is a newly established organization, established a year ago. It's a few months old. And one of the things, the key goal of the Women in Technology is to ensure that they bridge the gap for women in technology at various levels. There's, of course, capacity growing and allowing networking opportunities such as this one that we are about to experience for our women in technology, in IT, in ICT. It also is an organization that reaches out and mentors young women. We had a conversation recently with Angela Wamola and her team, and we were discussing how young women nowadays are luckier than a certain group of women. Previously, ICT was locked out to most women. It was actually locked out to a general part of the population. But today we have young men and women, children who are growing up with a mobile phone. So their definition of technology is different from what our era, our growing up for us was. So it makes mentoring all the more easier. But it is understandable that today we still have fewer women within the technology space as engineers, as in the technical aspects of, in technology, women are fewer than their men. I mean, sometimes going as low as a ratio of 1 to 10. So here tonight, we are going to discuss how we are going to be walked through how, as women, we can come to the table, claim our rightful place at the table, and to take us through that will be Ms. Angela Wamola. We'll also have remarks, what is called the 12 points of career growth by Dr. Catherine Adea Nyaki. And then we'll have a Q&A and a raffle afterwards. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Angela Wamola. She's the Head of Strategy and Planning at the Technology Division, Safaricom Limited, has undergone a meteoric rise to the top, and she was the only woman involved in the undersea cable project. So you can see how fabulous Angela is. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you for coming. We're really glad to have you here to support us as we try to launch this networking event that we're trying to have here, where we all get to know each other, our professions, and work together towards making us better engineers going forward, better scientists, better ICT specialists. So basically, I'd just like to take you a bit of a brief background of why we are here. There's a need for growing the number of women in science and technology, and this cannot be overemphasized. The ratio of men to women in this industry is as low as 1 to 10, and especially in most of the higher learning institutions. And most of us, I've met some of my colleagues here who were in college with. We do remember back in the days when we were in our classrooms, we were heavily outnumbered by our male colleagues. And the number actually grew worse as we progressed. The number of women who dropped out of engineering and information and science technology, was evident, and the situation gets worse as we go into the profession. So this trend is being replicated across the whole industry, and we want to do something about it, and that's why we're here today. So being a woman is a great role, which brings in itself very many joyous moments, as we all know. But it's also tough, yeah? And it's also tough because to be a woman is to be like a magician, balancing between a very demanding career and a family that is so heavily dependent on you, while on your high heels all the time, at the same time, and it requires us to be like a juggling maestro of some sorts. And so the life of a woman in technology is a story that is worth acres of publishing space. It is the stuff of psychology doctorates. And our profession is just a few years out of the dark ages, where it's obviously male-dominated. Sorry for my male counterparts that are here. And as many women in this room will attest, it's often tolerates women, you know, maybe not celebrated, but tolerated. And we don't want to be the woman that is always tolerated. We want to be celebrated in our field. We want to be, you know, we want to be out there like the best of them. And so this unfortunate net result of this is that many women too often end up accepting, you know, the state of affairs. You know, you just settle back and you want to leave the men to carry the day. And that's why today we want to hear from Dr. Adair. I'll be very protocol-oriented. So going by our theme, which is advancing women in technology from the classroom to the boardroom, we are engaging in activities to grow and mentor the next generation of women in technology through very, very many networking opportunities such as this one, outreach programs and mentorships and exchange programs. And so today, we want to launch the first Women in Technology Power Hour session. These sessions will be held on a monthly basis here, and it's intended to bring us together in this space so that we can network and share our experiences, discuss opportunities that are out there for us existing in this industry, and to mentor each other as we grow and become successful women in this industry. I'd like to introduce, with great pleasure, Dr. Adair Ware, Acting CEO of the Konza Technopolis Development Authority. Wow. To introduce Dr. Ware, Nyaki, yeah, she's a woman in technology, and she's currently occupying that corner office. Here is a long and impressive CV, which we could, hers is a very long and impressive CV, which would require some time to go through, but we won't. So allow me to highlight some of the key achievements in her career, right? So in her CV, you describe yourself as an information scientist with knowledge and skills in information development issues, which include social, political, and economic potential and impacts of ICT in Africa and in the developing world in general. She's a member of the board of directors of the Kenya ICT board and was part of the team that finalized the Kenya ICT policy. And Catherine is one of Kenya's members of the Research ICT Africa network that is coordinated from South Africa. And she has coordinated a case study for the World Bank initiative on knowledge, technology, and growth, a case study of sectoral clusters in Africa. And she was the leader of the project on how micro and small medium enterprises clusters in Ghana and Kenya adapt ICTs. Dr. Ware is here to share with us some tips on how to come to the table and compete on an equal footing with our male counterparts. Karibu.
To start off, I thought I would maybe try and engage you and then explain to you why I want to engage you on this, just trying to see how well you know me. Because people never really guess my age, but today I tried to look a bit younger. No, a bit older, sorry, because most of the times they say I look too young. So I was born in the year that Martin Luther King was assassinated. A year before Neil Armstrong landed in the moon. I graduated with a BSc in Information Sciences in 1991. I went for my MPhil in Scotland in 1993. I wanted to do some maths. I was promoted to study for a Doctor of Philosophy in Information and Development in 1994. And I graduated with my PhD in 1997. So how old was I? When was Martin Luther King assassinated? We are engaging. Huh? Martin Luther King Jr. 4th April 1968. So if I got my PhD in 1997, how old was I? Yes, I was 29. So that's to put it a little bit in context. And then I did my postdoc in California in 2005. But that is just by way of introduction, because I said I'm going to share with you very openly, but also with humility. Because I don't want to brag about certain things. And the reason I'm doing this is because I remember when I was going to study IT, people kept telling me that, are you sure? It was still so new. I mean, we're talking of 1988. Because I remember when we were even studying our undergrad class, now many of the young people have got such a huge advantage. But we were studying word perfect. You know the word perfect where you have to put the formulas and all that, and the lecturer will only mark you depending on how you print. So if you put the wrong formula for a comma and it came up as an apostrophe, you get it wrong. Yeah, these days is what you see. We were doing Fortran, 77, we were doing COBOL. Who remembers all those? And then we just had a few computers, and those few computers were not accessible. They used to be locked, and they would only be opened at certain times. So actually, when I went for my master's, I went for my master's with a lot of theoretical knowledge when I went to the UK, and very little practical knowledge. So my journey there was really, really hard in a male-dominated class. In my undergraduate class, we were 2 women, and how many men? I can't remember. But we were 2 women, and they used to call us the flowers. So some of them remain my friends up to date. There were how many men? I think there were 15 or 16. But we were the flowers of the class. But I made sure that I'll just not be a flower, but I made sure I topped that class. So, you know, I'm just giving some little clips in terms of, I said I'll share a lot of things with humility. So just to tell you about my journey and why I'm here today and why maybe I've risen to the top of what you are all calling the top. And another thing you must do is make a plan to balance your personal and your work life. Something else I'm trying to learn. I used to do it so well. I mean, if you find, you know, you'll find once you get into this industry and you become, I'm no longer one of the boys, but I'm a person in the industry, I'm counted. You start loving it, actually. You can get so interested in it that you work very long hours. And then you find that you're not balancing well. And if you have, thank God if you have a good spouse, because I've got a friend who's in the industry whose husband can only eat the food cooked by her. It's one of those cases. So she has to leave early because he cannot eat food cooked by a maid. Thank God, at least my husband, he knows. He'll eat whatever is put for him. Otherwise, he'll starve. So you know, you must have these kind of discussions. I mean, it's up to you. Do you want to starve or do you want to eat? And I'll make sure she cooks the food well. I mean, I've even taken her for training. There are all these training places. Up the game, women. You can up it. Make sure she's not making for him skuma. You know those, the nyama with those, that soup of the village, eh? No. Up the game. So even him, when the food is put before him, he knows even if my wife is in the office, it's not an issue. That's all I'm talking about. And engage with your spouse. And even if you don't have a spouse, at least engage with whoever your partner is or something. So make sure there's a balance. That's why it's important to have mentors. Don't let these things get to you. But when I came back and I came out, I said, never again. And I'm never going to let another woman sink that low. And that is why when I was told that there's an opportunity to speak, I said, no, I'll share my journey if it's just going to even change one woman not to give up. Because this field, there's space for everybody. Thank you.